Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. Well, we got a lot of stuff for you today, guys, and hang in there to the end because this one's a really good one, and there's so much going on we have to cover. So we have basically, President Trump saying, he might close down the border forever, period, if he has to. As this says, this is out of the Daily Mail, we will close the border permanently if need be. Trump threatens decisive action unless Mexico deports caravan migrants as hundreds storm the border and officers fire tear gas and rubber bullets as rocks and bottles rain down on them. So obviously it's a situation that's getting more violent and more tense by the day, and there's a lot of news saying this is going to get quite a bit worse before it gets better, as we will see as we go deeper into this. So President Trump has called on Congress to fund his border wall, declaring that the caravan is not coming into the USA. As we said, migrants threw bottles and rocks and hit Border Patrol agents on Sunday in San Ysidro. Border Patrol Chief Carla Provost told the Fox News channel that our agents were being assaulted. Officers responded by firing tear gas and rubber bullets into the crowds of people as they neared the border. And shooting rubber bullets, that's no joke. That is really no joke. 42 made it across and were arrested, according to the chief border agent on the scene. He said that on CNN that the mass of humanity are mostly economic migrants, not asylum seekers. Tensions prompted U.S. officials to close the crossing between Tijuana and San Diego on Sunday, and Trump's tweeted ultimatum played on TV screens Monday along images of screaming and coughing children. So Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen says she would not put up with the lawlessness. And Mexico vowed Sunday to deport about 500 who had violently and illegally crossed the border. So, this is definitely something that's ramping up. The situation around the world is ramping up. And while we have that going on, there's a lot going on behind the scenes. That's ominous. Wake up, everybody. Look at what's happening behind the scenes. And so President Trump signs a bill to further protect critical infrastructure, including pandemic delivery system. And so this is out of activistpost.com. And as this says, it's a sad day when protection equals assault, and when such events as the president signing H.R. 3359, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Act of 2017, is heralded as protecting the nation, when in fact this legislation further protects a system which will devastate the nation. And just like when we said, the Patriot Act, what it does is it takes away civil liberties. And the country was founded on individual freedom, freedoms to basically have your own life and to, live in the pursuit of liberty and happiness and, not necessarily to be observed, watched, monitored 24/7, 365, which is the case now. There is absolutely no privacy in this world at all. Zero privacy. And we've somehow accepted it for the most part. And we look at the Chinese system, which is even more intense, and the lockdown's even more severe, but we're heading in the same direction. And so we have to be aware of that. It has been a long-standing modus operandi of the United States to distinguish its most dangerous projects as protection. Well, that's not just the U.S. Other countries have done that as well. It goes way back. We've seen this in feudal times, and we are living in feudal times. In so many ways, we have the same system still. It is just basically got different trappings, more high-tech trappings, but we see it. Following the events of September 11th, 2001, and the subsequent anthrax attacks, the U.S. Congress rushed to pass a massive piece of legislation which ended up putting us in exquisite danger. Embedded in the USA Patriot Act was Section 817, the expansion of the Biological Weapons Statute, which gave the U.S. government immunity from violating its own biological weapons laws. And they are spread every day up in the chemtrails. And, there are all sorts of things being sprayed in the chemtrails. And as I've said, I have contacts, friends, family members that have worked, either for the government or have had family members working for the government that have said to me directly, if the U.S. public knew what was being sprayed on them on a daily basis, they would not put up with it. But we are being sprayed on a daily basis, and all the laws are in effect now to let that keep going on indefinitely, and there's nothing we could do about it. And that's the sad fact, and it's the truth of the matter. And so, let's not forget, we've had President Trump now, Republican. We have President Obama before, Democrat. Before that we had President Bush, and then we had President Clinton. But really, no matter if it's Democrat or Republican in office, these things keep moving forward. The laws keep moving forward that give power to the central government and take away individuals' rights, and in effect, really the rights of the states as well. So it doesn't matter who's in office. The power is going away from the people and going into the big federal government. And that is just consistent, and that's undeniable, and it doesn't matter if it's Republican or Democrat at all. And we see that still going on even with the Trump administration. And many people are recognizing it, and then other people are just blind to it and get mad at it when we call attention to the fact that these things are not changing. So be aware, and many people are just, they're going to look through either their red colored glasses, Republican red, or their blue colored glasses, Democratic blue. And they just cannot see it any other way. But there's a bigger thing going on here, and it doesn't matter which side is in power. We are losing power. The people are losing power. The individual states are losing power. The federal government is getting bigger and stronger by the day. And so, this gets into more details. I'll have all the links for you guys. There's so much to cover. I just wanted to bring this to your attention, and I hope you guys will check into it even more. And this is more on CISA, the Cybersecurity Informational Sharing Act, which basically makes it so that your private info can be shared with any government organization at all, and there's nothing you can do about it. So just get used to it. Now, hopping over to the Ukraine, we have the Ukraine demanding that Russia release Ukrainian sailors and ships. This is a tense situation that can explode, and yes, there have been battles before between Russia and the Ukraine, but what's going on has been basically a deterioration of the relationship between the U.S. and Russia and China, and we've seen this increase, and we've seen the BRICS nations grow stronger together, pull in more countries to them, as the typical, what has been the long-standing relationship of the United States with many of its allies has deteriorated. And so it's a very volatile situation that we're going to have to watch. The Ukrainian president has demanded on Monday that Russia immediately release Ukrainian sailors and ships that it seized in the Black Sea. And of course, as we said before yesterday, the Russian foreign minister accused Ukraine of violating international norms with dangerous methods that create risks and threats for the nominal movements of ships in the area. And in about a half hour, we're going to have the UN Security Council holding an emergency meeting to address the situation. And so, they did declare martial law in the Ukraine. Meanwhile, we have Russia warning the U.S. against deploying new missiles to Europe. A senior Russian diplomat has warned that the planned U.S. withdrawal from a Cold War-era arms control pact could critically upset stability in Europe. And stability in Europe is being upset, as we see anyway. There's so much going on right now over there and worldwide. So, as I've said many times, to me, it feels like we're in the 1930s. It's so clear to see. For those that love their history, you can see what's building. And so they got, basically the U.S. withdrew or is withdrawing from the INF. And, this is just another warning from the Russians. And of course, we still have actually a lot of French protests going on across the country. As this says here, the pressure is on French President Emmanuel Macron after a second weekend of sometimes violent protests over rising fuel taxes that reached the heart of Paris. You know, it's more than that. It's seeing one thing piled on top of the other. People are getting tired of the governments we have in general. Scattered protests continued Monday as drivers blocked roads from the Pyrenees to Brittany. Macron promised to explain on Tuesday his plans for weaning France off fossil fuels, the reason for the small tax hikes. The protests are a major challenge for Macron, drawing disparate demonstrators with no clear leader or mission. Tense clashes on Saturday reached Paris's high-end Champs-Élysées. A local protest leader in Toulouse, Benjamin Cauchy, said on Monday on BFM TV that the movement is at a turning point and the next step will hinge on what Macron has to say. So we will see how this goes and if this dies down or if this is only the beginning of something much larger. And we will not tolerate this lawlessness. America fights back hard against the caravan migrants, including women and children who stormed the border and were met with tear gas and rubber bullets, as the president shuts down Tijuana and San Diego crossing. And there's a lot going on also behind the scenes with this. Now, this is out of the Gateway Pundit, and Honduran migrant says 20,000 are going to march through the vehicle lanes at border, claims that applying for asylum is a waste of time. So migrants in the Central American caravan heading towards the U.S. border are planning to wait until an expected 20,000 arrive in Tijuana and then enter the U.S. illegally en masse, according to a report. And so they're planning on doing it at San Ysidro, as we see people hanging up on the wall. And so Marco Gomez is a construction worker from Honduras who is currently marching with the caravan. According to the Epoch Times, he was with a larger group of migrants who were discussing how they want to send a message to President Donald Trump to open the gates. We'll stay together and be strong, and then we'll move on into the U.S., he said, peaceful, like people going from one country to another marching. And so 20,000 people storming the gates at one time could definitely be something that is a major event and a major escalation, and we'll see if that manages to manifest or not. So Jane Wong explains why she uncovers hidden app features that tech giants like Facebook want to keep secret. As we know, when they do these upgrades, a lot of times what they're doing is sticking more surveillance in them, new ways to mine the data and gather the data. And I mean, I for one have noticed, for sure, that there are things that have been said, the phone is not in use. And then when you go turn on the phone, you go to a Google search and you type in, say, G, it comes up with exactly what you just said. So obviously they're listening whether you have your phone, whether you're activating it or not. And it's the same thing with our computers. And as we see, really these big apps like Facebook, they're just mining data, and you have to wonder if they're not really completely under the government's control already, completely. Have they been basically confiscated and put under governmental control? And so this young lady, she knows how to basically reverse engineer everything that they're doing and find out exactly what they've just stuck in there to monitor us a little bit closer and tighter. She's great at reverse engineering, and of course everybody would love to have her working for them. She's a computer science major at University of Massachusetts Dartmouth, and she's made a name for herself in tech circles by uncovering hidden app features that the likes of Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat want to keep under wraps. So she doesn't want to do it for the money. She just wants to decipher and see what are they doing to take away more of our privacy and our freedoms, as they keep doing their upgrades, quote unquote. And so while we're talking about that, we have internal documents that Facebook has fought to keep private, obtained by UK Parliament, as we look at Zuckerberg. And so the British Parliament has obtained a set of internal Facebook documents the company has fought for months to stop from being made public, according to Facebook and a lawyer involved in the suit against the company. The cache of documents, some of which may include correspondence between Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg and company executives, stem from a lawsuit in California that outlines a litany of allegations against Facebook. Among them, claims that the company's alleged disregard for user privacy and the claim that Zuckerberg devised a plan that forced Facebook's rivals or potential rivals out of business. We allege that Facebook itself is the biggest violator of data misuse in the history of the software industry. Ted Kramer, the owner of 643, a company suing Facebook, told CNN in an interview this summer. Parliament obtained the documents days before a scheduled hearing. And Tuesday in London, lawmakers from 7 countries will meet for what they are calling Inaugural International Grand Committee on Disinformation. Lawmakers had asked for Zuckerberg to appear, but Facebook instead chose to send one of its CEO deputies. The release of documents to the committee could raise new legal questions because the state court in California ordered the material to be kept under seal. Kramer told CNN he wants the U.S. Federal Trade Commission and Attorney General in the United States to investigate the allegations 643 is making. And many think that Zuckerberg is really just another little puppet, just another figurehead. So, there are those that think it's all Soros that is behind this, or other entities as well, perhaps the cabal, the Illuminati, the Rothschilds, as we have said. So we have violent tornadoes sweeping through Rocca di Neto in Crotone, Italy. And we still have a lot of storms going on. We still have a lot of flooding going on everywhere. And now the frigid winter is setting in. And this large tornado hit in the Calabria region around 11:30 UTC on the 25th, caused significant infrastructure damage and left several people injured. Second tornado hit the province in 5 days. And so one of the things we're going to see as we get deeper into these weather changes is tornadoes in unusual places at unusual times. The weather is shifting and changing dramatically. And so we can't rely on what has been the norms. And so we touched on this yesterday. We had that strong and shallow 6.3 quake that hit right on the border of Iraq and Iran. And people were injured. They're not saying that anybody was killed, thankfully. And this is an area that is very, very, it does have severe quakes from time to time that can cause a lot of damage due to the layout of the land. And actually, it was in this area, like in Iran, that the original thought for a lot of the earth bag homes, came about because of the fact that the dome structure is the most resistant to wind. It's also the most resistant to the shaking effects of a earthquake, and so it's a very, very practical structure. And we've talked about dome earth bag homes many times in the past. And then while I'm thinking about it, let us just take a quick peek at the latest earthquakes real quick. Now we did have over here, we had a 6.0 on the western Caribbean plate, which was interesting, and there's been some aftershocks. We see a 5.6 there. If we blow it up, you can see there's a lot of quakes going on, a lot of aftershocks over here. I think the 6.0 came off. We always have them up around Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic. That's pretty typical, but over here on the western edge is a little bit rarer. And of course, we got some fracking quakes, or what I would assume be fracking quakes in Oklahoma. We see still a lot of ongoing activity in California, swarming in Alaska. And we see the one that we were just talking about, the 6.3 in Iran, as well as numerous aftershocks there. There's still activity going on in Greece and up into Montenegro. 4.1 in Kyrgyzstan. 5.3 on the Pacific, Antarctic ridge. And so really 177 quakes is not a lot, really. And going over here, now we have over from the Jerusalem Post, there's a report that Netanyahu's prosecutor recommends indictment in 2 cases, and there have been forces trying to get rid of him for a long time, as many believe he's not a very nice guy when you get down to it. And there's definitely not a lot of love for him around the world in general. and we'll see what really comes of this. You know, he was charged on a bribery charge in a case, but this has been going on for a long time, and so far, you know, nothing has really happened in corruption charges. And we also have some eruptions at my own volcano. Alert level remains at 2 in the Philippines. And unfortunately, we have 145 pilot whales dead after a mass stranding on Stewart Island, this down in New Zealand. Very sad, very, very sad. So there was 2 pods stranded at the southern end of Mason Bay, about 2 kilometers apart. They actually had to euthanize several of them. On Sunday, 10 pygmy killer whales were stranded at 90 Mile Beach. 2 have since died, and attempts were being made to refloat the others. So the second stranding in the far north in 3 days after a 15-meter sperm whale died on Tokoroa Beach on Saturday after washing ashore on Friday. They say the strandings are unlikely to be related, you know, but what caused them? What's going on here? You know, what exactly is it? You know, some think a lot of times it's military operations that are causing these animals to get confused. You know, we would have people probably saying maybe it's Fukushima related, maybe it's even gases being released from volcanic activity in the ocean. You know, it could be so many different things, but we're seeing, unfortunately, tons of this. And actually, there were a whole bunch of sea turtles that I forgot to put in this one that ended up freezing to death. It was very, very sad as well. So we're seeing still a lot of die-off. And talking to friends yesterday, and many people don't realize that we're in a huge die-off. This is a massive mass extinction event that we are in the middle of right now. As we look at homeless setting up a shanty town under Times Square scaffolding, and it was damn cold up there in Connecticut and in New York. As I visited family over Thanksgiving, bitter cold. So grateful to be back in the Carolinas, and even though it is still pretty cold here at night, it's not that bitter cold. That I just can't imagine how people are surviving being out there in it when you have these temps that are like 10 degrees and eventually going to be like, you know, 0 or more. I mean, it's a horrible, sad thing. And so a friend sent me this, and this is a cure for hunger, a global solution. And I'll have links for you guys as well, of course. So these are domes. These are food and water domes. And so they're going to build these domes in inaugural cities: LA, California; Mexico City, Mexico; Mumbai, India; Budapest, Hungary; Lagos, Nigeria; Manila in the Philippines; Santa Cruz, Bolivia; Accra in Ghana; Abu Dhabi, and in the United Arab Emirates; and in Knoxville, Tennessee, which is only about 90 miles from me here. They will also have these domes built. And these are great projects. 90% of what they do gets turned into this, gets turned into product. And so once a cure for hunger, food, and water dome is built, it produces 100% organic food for decades, no matter how dry, windy, wet, or hot or cold outside. These food and water domes keep food safe and secure inside a disaster-proof dome. And as I was saying about the dome shape for the earthbag homes, domes are the shape of the future. In my humble opinion, and I'm not an expert, but they just ring true with me. And it's what we're going to need in this time. So Cure for Hunger is chartered to build 15,000 food and water domes in 150 nations, providing fruits, vegetables, and fish in these domes. Once 100% of all fresh water is provided by water atmospheric generators, which harvest 1,320 to 5,000 gallons of fresh drinking water 365 days a year. 4 compact Cure for Hunger gravity garden systems, 10 by 10 by 15 feet, are equivalent to growing 7 acres of outdoor farmland or 15 acres where poor harvest sections of flooded land or land near walkways or roads where crops receive high amounts of dust are added. Each robotic cylinder system produces more 100% organic crops per square foot in recorded history. Construction of a cure for hunger dome takes less than 30 days due to ease of design and is half the cost of traditional buildings, being 50 to 75% more energy efficient. The grow domes maintain the best environment, temperature, and humidity, more effective and more affordable than any other indoor farm. Within 15 to 20 years, the energy savings pay for the entire cost of the grow dome. Each disaster-proof grow dome comes with a 100-year warranty and can withstand F5 hurricanes and tornadoes up to 400 miles an hour. Domes are also fireproof, bulletproof, termite-proof, flood-proof, and reflect EMPs and have anti-liquefaction option for earthquake regions around the world. Cure for Hunger has a 10-year OEM license contract with Safest House to build disaster-proof domes at a cost plus 3% royalty license fee. This is amazing, and this is exactly some of the good news that we need to hear. And I hope you guys will go and check it out. There's all different sections talking about what they do, how they're bringing it in, and as it says here, the estimates show that about 870 million of the world's 7.1 billion inhabitants, or 1 in 8, suffers from chronic undernourishment between 2010 and 2012. And now we're up to about 7.7 billion or more. And so the majority of the world's hungry population lives in developing countries. And they're going to build thousands of these, but not just there. They're going to build them in the U.S. and all over the world. And this is pretty cool. So by 2050, they believe the population is going to be 10 billion people. That doesn't take into account the weather and what's happening worldwide, because the population may be well less than that. But regardless, this project is super cool. This idea of these domes is super awesome, because we got to change the way we do things. And I see so many beautiful houses, go over friends and family, and you see these gorgeous houses, and I think to myself, if things get to be the way we're expecting, they're not going to make it. These beautiful houses are probably not going to make it, but these domes will. And so we're going to have to change the way we're doing things over the course of time to withstand what's coming. And this is a beautiful thing, because this is going to be supporting and helping people. And I hope you guys will check into this a little bit more. I'll have a link for you. And this is out of blue zones. And blue zones are areas where people live to an exceptionally long, healthy life. And this is an article that says, can meditation really slow aging? Yes, it can. Studies show that. It could do more than that. That's why I'm always telling you guys, go within. And of course, some of our family that are fundamentalist in philosophy, they have been, in many cases, conditioned to fear going within and quieting your mind. But that's where all the answers lie. That is where all the answers lie. You must go within to get to know yourself, and to truly love oneself and understand oneself. And if you can't love yourself and understand yourself, how can you truly love and understand another? So we need to go within, and meditation can change your world by changing your inner world, which will change your vision, your lens that you view things through. And studies show meditation can slow aging. It could reverse so many harmful effects. It could get you out of the fight or flight response. Instead of making cortisol, it'll get you making serotonin and melatonin, which are going to help your body heal, relax, and put you in a good mood. There are so many benefits to it. And so this article gets into that, gets into some of the studies that show that it could do that. Your aging is all a result of telomere disintegration and fraying. And as the telomeres, which are on the ends of the chromosomes, as they wear out, then basically so does our life and our lifespan. And there are thoughts that we could actually reverse that process. I mean, for sure, definitely slow the process and potentially even reverse it. And it's all about chemicals. It's all about hormones, and your mental state determines which biochemicals are going on in your body. And so this is another reason for meditation. And it's up to each on their own to find these things out. But it can do amazing things, including slowing aging. and just changing the way that you feel and making you more happy and more at peace. And so one last thing I wanted to do was show you guys some interesting things. For one, this is interesting. And so it's not apparently a tornado. It's just this weird sort of cloud. Or something else perhaps. And I have another one that's going to give you a better view of it. And this is a different place, different location, totally. One was in California, and the other one's here in North Carolina. And so we see the sun, and we've seen some of these, and it's just fascinating the way these clouds are almost like, and you can see one faintly here, they're just sort of dropping vertically from the sky. Really, really weird. And so it gets me wondering, as you can see over here, what exactly is it? You know, is this something chemtrail related they're dropping down? Is this something electromagnetically related? Coming from, you know, charges inside the Earth interacting with the electrical charges of the sun, and not to mention that the sun looks so distorted, and of course they chemtrailed the crap out of it, as usual. But it's just weird. It's kind of weird how we're seeing these such unusual cloud patterns. Now this is over here, you'll see an unusual object, and who knows what that is. I mean, at this, it could be a drone, it could be a disc, it could be a Goodyear blimp, I don't know. But this was sent in by one of our viewers pointing out this UFO, and UFO just means unidentified flying object. We don't know what it is. It's unidentified, it's that simple. Doesn't mean we're saying it's aliens, or demons, or extraterrestrials, or whatever. We're just saying we don't know what it is. And so this was taken, this is a weird light reflection. It almost looks like cobwebs over the camera. It's bizarre. Not sure what this is. Is this just, I don't know, cracked lens? Is this some sort of energetic thing it's picking up? I have no idea at all. But again, just sent in by a viewer as a curious anomaly. And then this looks like a typical lens reflection, but there's really no major light source here that would kind of give that to you. So why do we have that if there's no light source to reflect off of in the photo? And there was like 4 of these. And then maybe it's my imagination, because I have a great imagination at times, but I almost see like a face in there. And I was playing with the light, and this was taking a lot of the light out of it. As we see here, it's not like the sun is in the view or anything else. So again, something that I can't identify. I don't know what it is. Don't know if you guys have an idea on that as well. And then this one as well. Why would we have this type of reflection? And again, I see too many things too easily, because I see an eye right here. It almost looks like I could see a face in here that's not really human. So, I mean, I did see somebody else sent me a video where, I don't know if it was a psychic or who it was, but they were showing photos similar to this and saying that these were light beings. And honestly, I see an eye in there clear as day. It does not look humanoid, but it's just another curiosity. So I don't know what that is either. And if it is just some sort of lens flare, where's the light source that's given us the lens flare? Because that's a pretty damn big lens flare. So I don't know. As usual, my friends, please do comment. Let me know what you guys think about all this. We have a lot going on. So please, share your comments, share the video, subscribe, join our family, click the bell so you get all the notifications, and thumbs up if you thought it was interesting and thought-provoking. And as always, my friends, may you all be blessed with abundant peace, love, health, happiness, and well-being. Stay safe out there. God bless, and namaste.